Shalom. My name is Imanava Michaels. I serve as Chief Sister under Rabbi Ian Michaels of Congregation Bethlehem. We hold our worship services in the Vineyard in Ashland, Virginia. And if anyone would like to contact us for further directions or instructions as how to worship with us, you may give us a call at area code 804-859-0988. And someone will be more than happy to assist you. Today we're going to be discussing preparing to enter the land. Now, this particular teaching that I did was based on the parasha, which is called parasha Pinchas of Phinehas in Shemot, or Numbers chapter 25, verses 10 to 29. And I will read a portion of that right now. Numbers 25, beginning with verse 10, and it says, "And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, hath turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, and that he was very jealous for my sake among them, so that I consume not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace." Now this particular portion of scripture speaks to the camps of Israel, or at least it should speak to the camps of Israel today, if we heed the instructions of Yahweh contained within. We will inherit the land. We will inherit the land spiritually. We will inherit the land ultimately physically as well. Also, when we consider in the book of Ezekiel, or Ezekiel chapter 20, which again bears witness to the conditions by which modern-day Israel may make aliyah and enter into Haaretz, the land. Now, the previous parasha, which was parasha Balak, it creates a continuum with today's study, where we discovered that the spirit of Balaam had infiltrated Yahweh's camp by means of Moabite women, enticing the men of Israel through sexual immorality. This seduction of our forefathers occurred via invitation of the Moabite women to a banquet in honor of Moabite Elohim, false Elohim. The scripture records a witness that the Moabite women and the men of Israel, they ate, then bowed down to these pagan gods. And you find that in Shemot, or in, in Bamidbar, Numbers 25, chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. Now, although Parashat Balak and Pinchas deal with the sins of the Israelite men, women, though silent, played and still do play an integral part in this solidification and upkeep of the houses of Israel, inner set-apartness being the key. I will use myself and my husband Caleb as an example. For 12 years now, my husband and I have enjoyed a rich, solid covenant of love on many different relational levels. Set-apartness, kadoshness with respect to the family purity, or the taharot hamishpaka, the laws of Nida, a level of trust and mutual respect for the other's person and each other's unique callings. With Yahweh's power, we've created a Goshen, as I like to call it, a Goshen within our covenantal union. One of the inroads that we've paid and strive to maintain is open communication, undergirded with sensitivity. This has poured out blessings of a yachid, or of unity, that few find. This morning, Caleb and I were discussing Phinehas and the need for inner set-apartness, and Caleb so wisely stated that the vitality of holiness when no one is looking. And that statement challenged me to consider the intense testing of our people in the wilderness. Yeah, severe mercies when they fell, like the fiery serpents that we hear of in Shemot chapter 21, verses 6 through 10, the incident at Peor, chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. When we examine closely what we find within the individual heart, a heart of rebellion and self-idolatry, though they've been through the purification of the wilderness for 40 years. The first generation out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, having died. And though they were instructed to have faith in Yah in order to become keepers of Haaretz, keepers of the land, to not murmur, to set themselves apart unto Him, to cleanse their hearts, their bodies, and their garments, both with physical water and in wilderness wanderings, which was designed by Yahweh Elohim to prove and sanctify them holy, they continue to be dogs returning to their vomit. Now, keeping ourselves as women of Israel in check, watching well over the ways of our own household, means that we must be on constant guard against the spirit of Balaam within ourselves first, secondly within our families, and lastly within our spiritual communities. This spirit still runs rampant among the camps of Israel and those in the Christian churches. What is the spirit of Balaam, you ask? Well, Balaam the prophet was ready to curse Elohim's people, apparently for profit, illustrating the greed of false teachers who deceive and exploit for personal gain. The spirit of Balaam, therefore, is a spirit of false teaching or syncretism or mixture of doctrine, coupled with greed, a strong desire for riches and a lust to embrace compromising spirits to cleave to false teachings. For example, the prosperity gospel, in order to gain the advantage, whether it be from money or influence, status, or affluence in this world or within the camps of Israel and or the Christian church. We as women are very influential and therefore hold a very important role in ensuring that our conversation, our conduct, and our speech, especially when no one is looking, before one another and especially before our men and children, it must be set apart and bridled by Haruach Kodesh, by the set-apart spirit, according to every word of the Most High Elohim. Scripture teaches that we each are led away by our own lust when we're enticed to sin. According to Webster's dictionary, lust is defined as intense sexual desire or appetite, uncontrolled or illicit sexual desire or appetite, a passionate or overmastering desire or craving, usually followed by a lust for power. Lust, then, defined is a overmastering desire or craving, an unusual desire for power. As in the sin of Shittim in the scriptures, though it manifests itself in inordinate sexual drive or desire, Yisrael's heart at its root lusted for self-gratification, self-idolatry, and unbridled apostasy or Torahlessness. And now, when reading this particular parasha, it mentions the men of Israel and somewhat the women of Moab, but you have to wonder, where were the wives of the Israelite men when they went to the pagan banquet and committed whoredom? Now, Scripture doesn't say, but we do know that as a result of their sin, the camps were punished by Yahweh by way of a plague which killed 24,000 people. And with the hanging of the leaders of Israel in public, coupled with Phinehas's passion toward the ways of Yah, Yahweh is showing us that sin must be dealt with ruthlessly, exposed quickly, and with the passion of Yah. To hesitate is to allow the yeast to spread, and spread quickly it will do. We can gather too that the righteous demeanor of the Israelite women must have been lacking, as they were included in the numbers of those killed in the plague that killed 14,700 due to their murmuring and complaining against Moshe and Aharon. We find that reference in Shemot or Exodus chapter 16 verse 41. Now it was the duty of the Israelite men to prepare themselves, body, soul, and spirit, in order to enter the promised land. Their wives and children were also to be anointed and purified through the teachings and daily applications, the Hebrew rituals, which were prescribed by Yah's words, Yah's instructions, as handed down by Moshe. The surrounding nations were sophisticated in their perversions, unless our people were wrapped and saturated by the covenant of Yah. By keeping it, they were no match for the spirits that prevailed amongst the Moabites. At Balaam's suggestion, Balak sent out the most enticing, beautiful girls. These women offered foods that were more than likely offered to idols, and which, due to the intoxicated, sinful state of the Israelite men at the time, probably tasted better than anything they'd enjoyed within the tents with their own wives. The pleasures of sin are always heightened at that moment, and is pleasurable for a season, but it carries with it a cost that we don't count on, which is death, spiritual followed by physical. Because checkpoints within the most intimate relationships, man to woman specifically, man to his Elohim, man to his wife, had been glossed over, had not been set up as life to them. They lost the most important treasure, their lives. Now, to hear and to obey consistently every moment of every day would have then and will today ensure blessings on every level for the Israelite home. The greatest attack of the enemies of Israel yesterday and today are nothing compared to the enemy within, the sins of idolatry and disobedience that lives within our own souls. Now today, it takes the revelation of Haruach as we diligently study Scripture and apply its principles to our lives to even begin to fathom the foulness of uncleanliness as Yahweh does. The stain of uncleanliness was an offense against him and a violation of his will for his people Israel. As long as the uncleanliness of death remained, as the wages of sin is death, it jeopardized Israel's relationship with Elohim. This still holds true for today. Uncleanliness, inward heart sin with its outward manifestations, is sin. Even in some African tribes today, the Akamba and the Gikuya of Kenya, sacrificial offerings are drawn from the Hebrew tribes, such as the rites of passage and at the ceremony of purifying a village after an epidemic, as we see in Vayikra, or Leviticus chapter 19, verse 2. Being monotheistic, or believing in one Elohim, believing in the one true Elohim, they know as well that the spiritual roots of sacrifice unto Yahweh, the giving up of a precious and prescribed offering, is a perpetual link between man and the Most High. One thing we need to make very clear is that Yahweh is the Most High Elohim, and he does not play. We tend to take him far too lightly. Okay, so let's get it straight. Alright, if we want to go home, if we want to enter into the land, he has told us and shown us many times for us not to be deceived, that he will not be mocked. Whatever we sow to our flesh and soul, we will reap many times over in our spirits and with our very lives. Our salvation being the costliest treasure to lose if we don't internalize, ingest his every word, and seek to guard them, each and every one. I'm afraid that even amongst the humblest of us is found the spirit of Laodicea, which means the people decide. These are those who say they are rich, having become wealthy, and have need of nothing. They don't know that in truth, Yahweh sees them as wretched, miserable, poor,